Let's get this thing started. Welcome to Conversations at Elevation, episode 6. This week we have a really exciting guest. I first met her when I collaborated, when I was serving on the committee for the MLK Days of Dialogue, and she's absolutely amazing. Her name's Reinette Tendore. She is currently both the program coordinator and the director of the Native American Education Research and Cultural Center, which is such a mouthful.
Yeah.
And it completely, we were talking about this earlier, we realized that today is Indigenous People Day. So I think it's a really kind of cool, like, happenstance, I think,
Yeah.
that we're kind of having this interview session. So I'm really excited to have her. And then we'll bring Reinette in and we'll get this party rolling.
Yeah, sounds good.
Welcome. How you doing, Reinette?
Good. I'm doing good. How are you?
I cannot complain. So the way this works is we have a couple questions for you. Be as candid as you choose to be, and then we'll kind of usually end it with you kind of giving us a bit of nugget of wisdom to leave our listeners with, kind of as they go about their week. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. So question one, obviously you're an alumni of the university. So how is it like working at a place that you're an alumni of?
Actually, I think I love it more than having to leave somewhere because I'm so familiar with it. So I know what our students are experiencing, what they're feeling, particularly our students of color, and some of the challenges that being at a predominantly white institution brings. So I'm able to really feel for them, and that's the student population that I serve is primarily students of color. So I'm able to relate to them as students coming into a town like Laramie and a campus like UW. So I think that those are kind of the biggest things I take away from being alum from UW is I know what they're going through and feeling. And so I'm able to give the best advice and kind of guide them in the right way when it comes to questions regarding University of Wyoming or the town of Laramie itself.
Nice. So as Jay mentioned, you did go to the university, but what has been your journey through university, academia, and just your journey through academics in general?
Well, my journey starts back when I was 18 years old. I decided to come to the University of Wyoming, my home, the Wind River Reservation, for the very first time to attend the University of Wyoming. And my experience is a little different because when I was a freshman, I wasn't a typical freshman at 18 years old. I came in as a mom. I had a baby when I right out of high school. And so when I came to college, I came with a package of two, me and my son. And so I was already living out on my own and taking care of my baby at the same time as becoming a college student. So that's kind of where my journey began, was a lot of furthering my education. I had the piece of motivation, which was my son, to go ahead and go out and do this. I chose to not do it alone, and I chose to do it with him. There was many times that grandma and grandpa wanted to take him and keep him and help me out, but I couldn't do it. I was already bonded with him right away, and that was my son, and I just knew that I wanted to raise him while being in college. So he was with me through my whole college experience. So I was able to get my undergrad in elementary education at UW, but then I also was able to finish out. It took me longer than the 4 years, so I was in school a little longer, 6.5 years, maybe 6 years, to finish my bachelor's, which was fine because I always took minimum credit so that I could take care of my son while being in school. So that kind of gave me my motivation to finish, and I was able to graduate with my teaching degree. And I took a few years break off of school and decided to go to the workforce, and I moved back to the Wind River Reservation and gave back to my community, and found myself working in jobs where I was helping my community do outreach, and I was helping them heal. I was learning a lot about prevention efforts. And so what I did is get a lot of experience within our Native American community. And then I turned around and applied for the social work program at the University of Wyoming for grad school. and I got into that, and I got into grad school, and then that took me on a whole different path. And so I finished in 2017 with my master's degree in social work. So now I have my master's degree in social work, but I also work at the University of Wyoming. So I was able to transition from a grad student right into this position that I am now, because during that time the center was just founded and was getting going and getting on its feet. So I was able to apply for the program advisor position, and I went smoothly right into my journey here at UW. In the meantime, I got married, and I also had another son, and I raised my two nieces also, who are 18 and 16. And my son right now is a freshman or sophomore in college now. So he's 19 years old. So fast forward, I kind of do college full time, even in my lifetime. Like my personal life, I'm doing college. So it's something that's just a huge part of me, is this higher education journey. Like it just is not stopping. And I don't know when it's going to. So this journey is college forever, I guess.
Enjoy the ride. I mean,
Yes.
that's so inspiring, really. You touched on it again. You're just hitting all of our talking points, just like just knocking them out. So obviously, you work at the Native American Education Research and Cultural Center. Could you kind of tell us about it, when it was founded, the history behind it, and really the significance of it at a place like the University of Wyoming, in Wyoming?
Yes, so going back, so I graduated with my graduate degree in 2000 or 2017, and the center opened in August of 2017. And so it's been, like, I'm gonna hit my 3-year mark soon here in a bit. So it's been open for 3 years now. And the NERCC, which is the Native Center. It's the Native American Education Research and Cultural Center, and that's just too long. So I learned how to say NERCC, and then now I've shortened it to the Native Center. So that's kind of what I've been doing, is you just saying the Native Center right now. So a lot of people on campus are like, "What is it called?" And I tell them it's the NERCC, and it's too long, so I just say the Native Center now. So the Native Center is, the purpose behind it was to provide a sense of community and support system for our Native students who are coming from the reservation or coming from their hometowns, to have, to be able to still have their cultural identity with them as they attend college, rather than having to leave their identity behind. They're able to still have it and have that support system that our Native communities provide with each other. We're very tight knit, community oriented, and so the NERCC provides that for our Native students. Right now, as a program advisor, I provide any kind of student support services, whether it be personal, academic, just any questions. I help them with anything. The center itself, it includes a computer lab, a living area, a kitchen, and a classroom. And then all our offices. So there's some Native faculty that are housed in the Native Center. So it's almost like a one-stop shop. Our Native students can find even our Native staff and faculty in the center. So it just provides those resources all together in one. And then our students are able to be around their peers and be able to meet other Native students and work on their networking, and that support system is provided within the center.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So, with you growing up on the Wind River Reservation, what has it meant to you to take over the Native Center and really see it grow and hopefully continue to grow in the future? What is that like?
Oh, it means a lot to me. I used to hate when people would say I was a role model, because I never felt like I was. Because I wasn't like the best, and I felt like I didn't, when I was younger, live up to some morals and values that I should have. But I was young and growing, so I used to still hate that. Back then everyone would still say I was a role model going to college, but now that I'm older, I don't mind that role. Like, I don't, because I really instilled my own cultural identity and values, and that's how I raise my kids. And so my family is very tight knit, and we're very, very, very connected to the Wind River Reservation. We're very connected to our tribes, our culture, our traditions. We're doing our best to start learning our languages and really be involved in the community. So although I live in Laramie, I'm still very tied to the reservation in so many ways. I'm involved in different committees on the reservation. My husband I'm married to, he is the Eastern Shoshone Tribal Liaison to Governor Gordon. And so for that's the other tribe. I'm in Rapo and he's Shoshone. So then somehow our family is all still connected to the Wind River Reservation. Even though I live here in Laramie, my home is always going to be the Wind River Reservation. So I'm and my family's there, and that's where I guess I always say home is where the heart is, and so that's kind of where my heart is up there too. So it's kind of split. I always say that because I have two homes. I'm proud to say Laramie's my home, but I also will always Wind River Reservation will always be my home. So right now, it means a lot to be able to have this role as a center, and I take it very seriously. I really advocate for our students. I try to be their voice that maybe they don't feel like they have. I try to instill the confidence in them to go out, and it's been really awesome to see some of our students come in as freshmen and not have maybe the confidence or the knowledge on how to be able to balance both of the identities that we hold and different identities we all hold, because there's many identities that we are kind of they're intersectional, so we hold a lot of different identities, and so being able to be that person to help guide them through that, it's an honor to me, for me, not only just me but my family and my tribe, to be in a position like I am right now. And I really value it, and I appreciate where I'm at, and I appreciate the University of Wyoming for always being that support for me. I have so many partners across campus and colleagues that are in support of the Native Center and support of our position, and I don't think I could do that without the support. So I think it's been a great experience to be a UW alum and then move into this kind of position that I am now, but also always a tribal member, because I'm a tribal member first. I'm from the Rapo tribe very first before I'm anything else. And that's just part of my identity.
You were kind of you mentioned like you just not a big fan of being called a role model, and you're slowly kind of accepting that.
Yeah.
We've had these conversations as a society about representation and the importance of it and why it matters. Um, with the creation of this center, could you kind of talk about the impact that you've seen it have on the university's Native American student population?
Yes, I've since I've been here at year 3, we're growing so much. Our numbers are, I mean, I remember when I was a grad student, there was like 7 or 8 of us in our Native student org at Keepers of the Fire. There was just a few of us. And now to know that doubled, and at sometimes like we tripled almost. And so to be able to see some of these numbers just grow and grow and grow, I mean, to us, like 25 students is huge, 30 students is huge, like to ours, because like I said, I never had any of these services. When I was a student, I had a program advisor, and different ones that they had switched out. So I had a couple in my time, but they were located in Night Hall. Like we didn't have a center. So it's a really huge difference. So now I see our Native enrollment growing. And then I also see, and with COVID right now, our numbers are just fluctuating a lot, but right now even our students being online is a big deal for us. So if we have distance learners, that's fine, because they still reach out for my services, whether it be over email, phone, text. I still provide services like that to our students. So being able to see it grow and to be that, to work on a relationship with the University of Wyoming and the reservations and the both tribes, that's also been really important. So being able to see those relationships improve and build has been something that I kind of monitor with the center too. Like it's growing, and we're going to continue to grow. And whether it be student enrollment numbers, our relationships, building, and all that, it's been great.
Yeah, that is really awesome. And I'm sure one thing that is helping you guys grow is your guys' Summer Institute, the Native American Summer Institute that you guys put on every year. So, can you kind of explain the history of that program and what are you most proud of to have accomplished with this program?
Okay, so the Summer Institute actually has been in place. We are 2021 will be its 5th annual one. So we're on number 5. We were supposed to be on number 4, but COVID happened. So we're still skipping that and counting that as a year because we did all the work for it. We just couldn't have it. So it is in our mind number 5 this year, whether we had the one last year or not. We're on our 5th year because we did all the planning for last year and couldn't have it. So we're just moving on, and we're on our 5th year right now. When I was in grad school, I was asked to be the coordinator of this Summer Institute. So the purpose behind this is to provide a pre-college experience for our Native American high school students from freshmen to seniors so that they're becoming familiar with UW and the college campus. We really advocate higher ed, whether it be UW or another college. That still looks really good on our Summer Institute when our students choose higher ed. So it may not be specifically UW, but as long as our Native, to me, my goal is as long as we're exposing our Native high school students to college, there's a really high percentage they're going to attend college, whether it be at UW. We would hope it would be UW because that's what the purpose of NASI is, to get them comfortable and learn me in on UW, so that when they make that decision, they already kind of picture themselves here. They know that they're coming here. We also use peer mentors, which is our Native American college students, current college students right now, to mentor our high school students. So they develop those relationships with current Native college students. So they see them doing it. They see it being done, that they're most likely going to come attend the University of Wyoming. We started off with, I think our very first year, we had 28 students. We are now able to fully fund 40 high school students. Application wise, we had the most ever. We had 56 last year, I want to say, applications. And so we were going for our biggest year during COVID, and then that happened. So, but it's growing and we're getting more funding. We got some private donors this year for this last year, and we'll be moving into this year. We're always looking for funding though, because we can fully fund. That's what this program is to fully fund our Native high school students to attend this. So we're seeing, and now we're starting to see our summer high school participants attend UW now. So it's starting to be where we can count those numbers now, that it was NASI that brought them here to UW.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
And while they're here, I can add, while they're here, we do a lot of fun things. We do academic workshops. We do a lot of cultural events. We bring in other Native American, maybe motivational speakers or some kind of motivation, or we do bring dancers, singers from the Native American culture. Last year, we were able to collaborate with a group out of New Zealand. So we had the Maori. We had a big group come and we did a cultural exchange with them last year with our students, and then they brought them and they taught us their song and dance, and then we did a lot of culture exchange. And so last year we really the 2018 Summer Institute or 2019 Summer Institute was really focused on our relationship with New Zealand and to being able to build that, because eventually this past year we wanted to bring New Zealand high school students into it and just keep growing our relation. So there's other Indigenous people that we're really working with, and the culture exchange was powerful, and that was one of our biggest events that we've had through NASI. And so we're just exposing them to other cultures, other Indigenous cultures too. So
that's really awesome. That really means a lot to me. I did not know that. I'm actually an eighth Maori.
Oh, okay.
So my grandparents are from New Zealand. I still have a lot of family over there.
Wow.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, it was great. We had a public event with them last year. We opened it up and they did, we had the education auditorium and we invited everybody over, and they did a lot of their song and dance and did this public presentation, which was so awesome. And then our kids got up in their regalia and their outfits and did the culture exchange up there with them.
Oh, that's really awesome and amazing. Mm-hmm. So I think we're out of our official questions, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about what today is and what it means to you and us as a university, with it being Indigenous Peoples Day. Can you just go into what that means to you, and especially what it means to your reservation, and how hopefully it can continue to grow as a day, so that we can put away what this day used to mean and really grow it into Indigenous People Day and leave behind the past name of it.
Well, we started the work verbally, talking about eventually getting the city of Laramie to change their day and actually make it Indigenous Peoples Day. So that's a project that the NERCC, Keepers of the Fire, and a lot of our staff and faculty at UW are going to work towards next year. We wanted to it this year, but with COVID happening, we're all working from home. It's pretty tough. Like, we're going in the office, we're not able to collaborate as much, but our goal is to actually get the city of Laramie to acknowledge Indigenous Peoples Day and to abolish Columbus Day. Right now, I think as of 2020, I know that there's 13 states, I think, in 130 towns and cities across the U.S. that went ahead and went forward and did that, abolished Columbus Day and named it Indigenous Peoples Day. And so, to me, as a Native, it's an honor. We just got done sending out a big email to the staff and faculty student listservs regarding today and what it means to us over at the center. But to me personally, I really raise my kids to be proud of who they are because of our very, very horrible past we have with the federal government down from boarding schools on, and it really took away a lot of our identity. Right now, we're all fighting for it to keep back, to still have it, and to have the strength to hang on to who we are. And so, in turn, I really raise my kids to be proud of who we are, and even living in Laramie, Wyoming, and always educating other people about our culture and who we are. I think, and so to be able to even be here on this day means a lot, knowing what my ancestors and my own family has survived to be here today. Um, everything set out to be was to eventually not have any natives exist. They didn't want us here, and they did everything in their power to have us not exist, but to still be standing here and to still be on to have my education, to be an educated native, and to also be a mother and everything that I can be. It's an honor to still be here as a Native American woman and an educated Native American woman. That and I give a lot of props to my family, to my grandpa. He really pushed education, and he died at 90 years old as an Arapaho man, and he was always the one that wanted me to get my education. And I remember him telling us that that's the tool that we can use to fight back. Use that as a tool. And so that motivates me, and I teach that to my kids, to be proud of who they are and where they come from. And we're still here. It's just and we're not going anywhere. We're not going to go anywhere. All we are is going to become stronger, and we're uniting, and we're going to still be here, and we're fighting to maintain our identity, and we're going to continue educating our little ones that this is how we are, and that they'll one day be in our place advocating. That's a big part of my job, is advocating, is advocacy. I advocate for all our Native students, and so just a big piece of that. So yeah, so to be here and to be able to speak on this day was honor. So thank you for having me.
No, thank you. It's absolutely our pleasure, and I think you were talking about the education and that being our most powerful tool. It
Just hits home with something that my parents told me a lot about, and that's something that they made sure they doubled and tripled down. And so it's nice to hear that other families and
Yeah.
they're doing the same thing, because it is a really powerful tool.
Yep, and I turn around and like I said, I have 2 college students now. And today my son was giving a presentation, just happened to be in public speaking, and he was going to do it on Native identity. And so it worked perfect, and it's on his day too. So I was like, wow, it's really powerful. To me, those are signs from our ancestors that we're meant to be here, and our journey is all connected. And so that's powerful to us alone. And I think that was a sign my son needed too, for his identity. He's like, look, on this day you get to present to a class full of non-natives and educate them on our culture. Like, how powerful is that on a day that you didn't pick? This day, it's just presentation day. So yeah, so it just gave me like really, and I started my morning out that way, speaking to him. So I think it made me emotional too, knowing that what our ancestors had went through to still be here today.
Yeah, well, this has been an amazing conversation, and we're so happy to have you. But we understand that your time is valuable. What we like to have our guests do before we end each of these interviews is kind of just give a like a little piece of advice or motivational saying or something that you live your life by to our listeners before we let you go. So if you could please do that for our listeners, that'd be amazing.
Yes, I can. Part of it was a lot of the circle that I surround myself with is really positive, motivating people, like especially Native American people. Like my circle is pretty knowledgeable, and so I learned something from them. But recently, that's really struck home to me and to my college kids alone, is what I've been talking to them about, is their path. Everybody has their own path, and not everyone's path is meant to be together, or everybody's path is not the same. And so that's what makes us so unique and so special, is because we each have our own path, and whatever path that may be, and whether it be a career or a relationship or anything, whatever path that may be, just follow it, and like really listen to your gut and listen to yourself of what you're telling yourself. And that gut feeling is really powerful. And so if you just listen to that and you continue following out this path that's laid out for you, like I think you'll be successful. That's kind of what I've been really talking to a lot of my students is about, is our paths are all different. They're not all meant to be the same. So really appreciate that and take that in. So.
Good. Yeah. No, again, thank you for joining us. If you are listening or watching, thank you for listening and watching. We hope that you've left today in this conversation with a better understanding, a better perspective, and you've left with some encouragement to kind of proceed into your weekend and into the next week with some positive attitude. Thank you for joining us, Reinette. It's been absolutely
of course.
pleasure.
Thank you so much for thinking of me and adding me to this. It's awesome. I love it.
It was kind of a blessing in disguise that we had to reschedule for today because of the meaning and impact of this day in American history.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was an honor. Thank you so much for thinking of me.
Again, so thanks for joining us. Make sure that you like on YouTube, subscribe to the Campus Rec channel, and as always, like we end everything from my great friend Dr.